Hi, we're here with this Honda Dax today. I've had it for about a week and I've been having great fun with this. It's much smaller than what I've been riding recently, very much smaller, and I thought it might be kind of boring and I thought the novelty might wear off really quickly, but I'm still enjoying it. The only issue I have had it with it is that it's frustrating being a 125 and you get stuck behind someone who's doing just below the speed limit and you can't get past them. But if you've got no time constraints, or if you know where you're going and you've got plenty of time, this is really good fun. So yeah, we're just going to have a little look around it, and I'll say some things I like about it and the other things that I might like less about it. This is a modern sort of version of a bike that's been around a long time. This is a 125, got a 4-speed rotary gearbox. Obviously there's no clutch, there's a centrifuge system, but you still change the gear. So you have neutral and then push down for first, second, third, fourth. And to go back up, you use your heel. And then obviously you're going third, second, first, and then neutral again. If you get it a little bit wrong, you can go from neutral to fourth, which has caught me out a few times, just at junctions when I'm trying to pull out or something. But that's just practice, I think, and I'm used to a regular gearbox. So I think it's a really good system if you haven't ridden before, or if you haven't ridden with gears. It would be easy to get the hang of, but because I'm automatically trying to ride like I normally do, it's trickier. I'm trying to unlearn my normal habits. So just looking at a few specs for the bike, it's a 125cc engine. It's got just over 9 horsepower and 11 newton meters torque. So it's not the biggest, oomphiest bike in the world, but it's enough to zoom around on, which is it's good fun. The seat is nice and low. It's 775 millimeters, and that is probably high enough for full-grown adults, and also short enough for short full-grown adults. I find it really nice, so I'll hop on it. Even with this, I can't actually flat-foot it both sides, nearly. And when I took my mum pillion on the back, and when she's on the back, then I can flat-foot it. Yeah, the seat's relatively wide, which means that you do lose a little bit of your leg length just sitting there. It's a nice long seat. If you haven't got a pillion, you do then have the capacity to shift back and forth just to make it a bit more comfortable if you want to change your position. I actually really like the riding position. It's a bit sort of sit up and beg. There's no strain on your hands. And obviously no strain on your wrist from no clutch. The suspension's nice and soft, so you're not even getting impact through your spine. And I really like that about the bike because it just makes it a pleasure to ride. This is how you get to the fuel tank. It's just here, and that has a 3.8 litre capacity. So I just topped this up before I came up here, and it cost me just over £4. So this is the contents of your little toolkit. You've got 4 different size spanners, the fuse picker-upper. This is the helmet lock, so you can lock it to your carrier or something. Under the seat you've also got an Allen key and a booklet which tells you lots of really useful information, and I was really surprised to find that there. It tells you some sort of basic servicing things and the tyre pressures and all that. It also actually gives some information about riding position on the road, and I just found it really useful, and I thought that was a really nice touch that it's there with a bike that's probably aimed at people who are starting out. I just wanted to say how manoeuvrable this bike is when you're riding it, but also when you're on the ground. It's so small that it doesn't take up much space. It would be really suitable if you've got a confined space, either because you have too many bikes or you live somewhere that you've only got a small shed or something. I can move this bike just by picking up the back of it. You can just turn it around. And manoeuvrability on the road as well. It's so nippy and just really fast, manoeuvrable. It can do tight corners, turn it around. So it's really good with the manoeuvrability up to a point. It's a 125 and it's quite small. It has small wheels. So you're good up to 45, 50. After that, there isn't much there to give. So you're not going to make overtakes very often. And there's not really anything there to get out of the way of trouble if you are doing that speed already. It's just something to bear in mind, and obviously you can't be expecting that sort of thing from a tiny bike anyways. So overall, the build quality is amazing on this. It's really tidily put together. Everything's just so imprecise. And also, it's just well thought out, the layout. The mirrors are actually really visible. You can see where you're not going. The display is nice and central, is quite clear. It's not actually backlit, but that's okay, unless I haven't found the setting. The front lights and the rear lights, the indicators, they're nice and bold, they're clear, they look good, they're in keeping with the bike, and they've been thought out. They're not just any old indicators that have been bunged on there, they're a feature. So a few things that I don't like so much about the bike. The wheels are great because they're small and they fit the bike, obviously, but they don't roll over bumps and lumps and potholes as well as something with larger wheels, larger this way or larger width ways. So you just have to watch where you're going, basically. Being a smaller bike, you have the sort of safety issues to an extent that it's harder for people to see you. You're hidden behind the cars or the lorries. There's been times when I was behind a lorry and I was aware that they didn't know I was there. So it's just making sure that they can see you and that you're there. I know some people put a flag on the back, especially if you're driving around town. Something that's a bit of a niggle, the display, it looks quite clear from head-on, sort of direct here. It's actually a little bit hard to read because it's not backlit. When you're riding, and especially if the sun's at certain angles, it's a little bit trickier to read. I haven't ridden it at night, so I don't know whether that's an issue then or if it becomes clearer possibly. So for me, the gears are a little bit of a negative because I would like a clutch. That's just how I like riding. I think if you had one yourself long term, it'd be something you'd get used to pretty quickly. I was just finding it was catching me out a little bit. So basically, I've had a lot of fun with this bike and I thought the novelty would wear off very quickly. It hasn't. I completely see why people have these as an extra bike or an only bike, and I think it's just a really good invention, actually. Yeah, so that's the Dax. So this is the other bike that we've had on loan from Honda. It's also great fun. This is the Honda Monkey. It's also the 125cc engine. Different gearbox. This is the 5-speed manual, so you've got the clutch on this one. So it rides a little bit differently because of that. Otherwise, it's quite a similar ride. It's the same sort of size, probably the same usage. The only difference also we have is that it's a solo seat, so you can have a pillion on the Dax, not on this one. Probably most people don't want to take a pillion anyway on the 125 around town.